Hey guys, welcome back to the podcast. We've got a fun podcast for you today. Excited to share this one with you. I'm really enjoying these fun podcasts with a little bit of collaboration between myself and Seth, and it definitely makes it a lot more fun when it's not just myself talking on these things. So Seth, do I have you today?
You do. What's up, man?
Hey, not much. Seth was telling me that he's got a bit of a head cold right now, so he might sound a little funky.
Yeah, I might be a little nasally. Getting sick in the summer, man.
I was
It's
gonna
rough.
say you're that's a little jacked up. You shouldn't be doing that during the summer, man. That's wintertime
Ah,
stuff.
no kidding.
It's prime time scouting season right now. You should be out scouting and doing all that kind of fun stuff.
Right.
Yeah, shoot. Well, before we get going, as always, we want to thank our title sponsor, which is Vortex Optics. Appreciate them. I actually spent some time on the mountain this past weekend. I hung about what I hang 5 or 6 trail cameras. Spent some time behind some glass. Took some pictures through the old Vortex Razor binoculars. I'll have to actually post some pictures of that on Facebook and Instagram. Didn't see anything amazing, but saw some cool little bucks and saw a lot of deer. Actually, it was a really fun weekend, and got the trail cameras up and a few of the hot spots. So we'll check them in a week or two and see what we got. But we want to thank Vortex Optics for sponsoring and supporting us here at eHunter. Also want to thank Grim Reaper. Just posted up a new article about Grim Reaper on the website, and it's posted up on Facebook. So go check it out. Man, got a lot of interaction with that. A lot of people love those Grim Reaper broadheads.
Yeah, they know what's up.
One of my buddies,
Yeah.
Tyler, I gave him a shout out in our last podcast, or one of our most recent podcasts, and he posted a picture on there, and apparently he's been using Grim Reapers like this entire time and has had tons of success with it. So good broadheads.
Yeah, I think I saw that post. Yeah, Tyler had a nice buck he showed with them, and I've used them for years, so they're good. They're a good broadhead, that's for sure.
So I'm gonna have to make the switch now. One, because they're
Yes.
awesome and are supporting us here at eHunter, but two, and probably more importantly, sorry Grim Reaper guys, but I guess maybe not sorry, but because they're effective. I mean, really, when it comes down to
Yeah.
it, is I want an animal. I want a broadhead that when I shoot an animal, it doesn't go very far and kills over. I'm not a really, I don't love the tracking game. I don't like those 4 and
Right.
6 hour trackings. I like to watch it drop in 100 yards.
Right. Yep,
So.
they're good for that, especially if you put it in the bread basket. It's game over. So
And that's a lot of it right there, Seth. You kind of hit it on the head. Is hitting that bread basket. You hit the vitals. You have a pretty good chance of getting it down. But in that same breath, I think the gear makes a big difference. Honestly,
it does. It's true. If you get one that doesn't penetrate or doesn't has its design flaws, it'll make it a lot worse of a time for you.
Yeah, I've been using a different brand over the years. One of the top mechanical brands out there. Everybody knows exactly who I'm talking about now. Anyways, they've worked great. Don't get me wrong. They've been a great broadhead. But I've shot animals and they've gone a lot further than I wanted them to, and I felt like they were really solid shots. So I think I'll be switching
Yeah.
over to the Grim Reapers. In fact, I'm gonna go grab some and get them put on the arrows and shoot them and see how they do before hunting season, which is creeping up on us pretty quickly, man.
It's getting there, that's for sure. And if it's the brand I think it is, my buddy had a similar issue. He hit a whitetail in Kansas, and it ran so far it left the lease, and the neighboring
Wow.
lease wouldn't let him go look for it. So,
Oh, that's jacked up.
yep.
Where was this at? What state was this in?
Kansas.
Kansas. Interesting, and that's actually an interesting point. These deer leases and deer farms and things like that. The restrictions on that. We have a couple articles up on our website about that kind of stuff. And yeah, if you don't knock it down within that lease or on that farm that you're hunting those things, you're kind of SOL.
A lot of the time, yeah, unfortunately.
Yeah, sad deal, especially when you know that you got a good shot on. It's gonna go down, and it's just dead, 100 yards into the other person's property. So.
Yeah. Yep.
That's why I use Grim Reaper and just knock him down pretty
Yeah.
quickly. You don't have to worry about that,
Uh,
right?
I mean, you know the tagline, man. Watch them drop.
Yep. Dude, in archery, if you watch him drop in archery, that's the way to do it. So, and that's actually what
Yep.
we're going to talk about tonight is some archery, being creative with your archery practice, and something I'm pretty excited to talk about. This is actually I'm going to give credit to Seth. He's the one that came up with this idea, but I've really gotten into archery. I mean, I've always been into archery hunting, and I was kind of one of those guys that I'd pick up my bow a couple of weeks before the hunt and practice, and that's really kind of all I did. And over the last couple of years, I've gotten a lot more creative with my archery practice because of events like Total Archery Challenge and local 3D archery challenges and different competitions and things like that. And so it's funny because I approach those things, and you probably do the same thing I do, Seth. If you're ever in those competitions or events, is I shoot those for target shooting, but my whole mentality and behind all that is hunting. That's how I approach it.
Right. Yeah, that's how I've gotten to be with practicing. Like I'll shoot normally, get a feel for the bow, make sure everything's on. But once I know it's on, I shoot much more hunting like scenarios. I set the target up, maybe half the target. Well, we'll get into it, but
Let's jump into it. I don't see why not.
okay.
Let's jump into. In fact, go for it, Seth. Keep building off
Okay.
that. And what do you do from there?
Okay. So sometimes well, most of the time now, I kind of set it up like a hunting scenario. So I'll take my target out into the neighboring woods out here, and I'll, maybe hide half the target behind a tree. So you've only got a portion of what, quote unquote, the vitals would be sticking out. Um, Take shots at different angles on that, because just very rarely in hunting are you going to have a wide open broadside shot. It's great when it happens, but you can't bank on that every time. Um, Something else I do, I spend a lot of time kind of in that same type of scenario. I spend a lot of time shooting from awkward positions, a lot of drawing and shooting from your knees or a squatted position. Um, I usually, walk it off to certain distances, take the rangefinder out, get them weird half yardage distances, and spend a lot of time in more hunting like scenarios. Like I say, kneeling down, shooting, maybe have it hidden behind a tree and you're just sticking out the other side of a tree, stuff that would be more common to happen while you're hunting versus shooting in an open grassy backyard or field like most people do, because at least you're shooting. I'm not dogging on that. That is very good, but very rarely do you get a wide open grassy field to shoot an animal in.
Right. That's the thing is all of us get the reps in, and you're very right, Seth, in that most of us shoot in our backyard. It's nice, grassy. It's not that bad, but that's not usually a hunting situation. Exactly what you're saying, Seth. Is most hunting situations you're shooting at an animal that's halfway behind a tree, or you're halfway behind a tree. Most of the ones I've shot, yeah, I am literally halfway behind a tree because I'm trying to be, camouflage. Camo only
Right.
does so much for you, and so, no, I agree. You've got to make those shots. You got to be creative in those shots because if you're not, yeah, you're probably not going to have that same situation when it comes time for August and September, and you're actually pursuing that game. So that's one thing I've really liked is the Total Archery Challenge because it puts you in those situations. I have you ever done one, Seth?
So I've done some 3D shoots, but not an actual total archery challenge. I've never been to one, but I've done like there's a course in Provo here that I've done, and then I've done one down in Cedar City a couple years ago.
Oh, really?
Um, yeah, it's up Cedar City. I don't know if I'm talking correctly. Up Cedar City Canyon. I don't
Yeah.
know what they call it, but up the canyon there, it's been probably 5 years at this point. But it was a really fun course. The last shot was like 122 yards or something.
Wow. See, that's
So
that's awesome. I mean, you're not going to have. Well, I guess you
no,
might have that shot. You're not going to take
right,
that
take
shot.
that shot. Right.
Yeah, that's the thing. Yeah. So yeah, you're gonna have some of those shots, and during the Total Archery Challenge, there are those ones that are 125 yards. You're like, this isn't a legit hunting shot, But at that same time, getting creative in your practice is, if you can shoot that 125-yard shot and actually hit the animal, then, it's going to make you feel more comfortable on those closer shots. And so yeah, I did the Total Archery Challenge last year. I wasn't able to go this year, sadly, because of my day job. But yeah, last year I don't know. And I didn't have an archery tag in my pocket last year, and I wish I would have, because I felt like I could have killed anything after last year. I mean, I was just they put them, like when you're shooting in the Total Archery Challenge, they'll give you a window of like 6 inches, and you're like, okay, that's not bad. Well, that's at 60 yards that you're shooting,
Right.
and so you've got to be precise, and I'm not gonna lie. I mean, I left a few arrows up on the mountain that weekend, and that's okay. I think everybody did, but
Well, isn't that the joke that the
hmm
air sorry, excuse me, the arrow companies designed that so they could sell more arrows?
yeah, that's the conspiracy theory, is that the arrow companies designed this Total Archery Challenge, or all the archery challenges, but this one specifically because it's so ridiculous. And yeah, I had to go buy some new arrows at the Total Archery Challenge, and they jab you with
They
prices at the event, so they know what they're doing.
they got to make that money back.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. But you've got to do that. So whether you're doing a Total Archery Challenge where you're actually in the event, or if you're at home in your backyard, like you said, Seth, put something in the way. I guess that's what it really comes down to. You to be creative is just put something in the way that's going to make you, you know, either put it in the way of yourself, so that you're trying to shoot off of a different angle, whether that's kneeling, whether that's sitting, whether it's leaning out one way, because that's how most of your shots are honestly going to be. I guess I've had a couple on animals where I'm like truly, standing straight up and shooting. But for the most part, it's a different angle, and then also put something close to the target where it's covering half of the target, and you've got half of your window that you used to have that you normally practice on, so that you can really fine tune those skills.
Right. And then, that's basically, to me, that's the majority of my shooting, is a lot of trying to, I guess, shrink what I'm trying to hit, even if it's, a tree, or even if you don't have that access, find a piece of wood or a garbage can or whatever
Yep.
to cover up some of that target, to make yourself be more precise, so that when a buck steps out and you've only got, you know, 4 inches of idle or 6 inches of idle, you don't have to worry because you've done that shot before.
Right. Yep. Exactly. And know that all these shots are going to be different. You're never going to be able to completely reenact, or not really reenact, but what's the word? Being proactive about it, creating it beforehand. You're not going to create that perfect shot
Re,
before.
re, yeah, recreate it, or however you want to
Yeah, create it before it
talk about it. But
happens,
yeah,
I guess.
yeah,
but but you can get close. You just got to be comfortable being uncomfortable. Basically, what it is, because you're never perfectly comfortable in hunting. Even if you're an East Coast guy or Eastern hunter that's shooting from a tree stand, I don't know how many guys have shot sitting down. I did an archery shoot just recently in Colorado at the Air Force Academy. Awesome 3D archery shoot, by the way. Put a little plug in for those guys. If you're in Colorado or anywhere close, they do it every summer. There's 3 legs to the tournament, and it is amazing. But they make it tough. Bill Pellegrino, who most people know, Cam Haynes, I believe, is actually started in Bill's shop. He's the one that sets up the course, and you think that John Dudley sets things up pretty hard. Well, I think that he's in competition with Bill Pellegrino, because Bill's trying to make things even harder than the Total Archery Challenge. But some of those shots were sitting down or kneeling down, and that's pretty tough. So guy shooting from his tree stand, it's not easy.
yeah. That's a lot of my shots lately, or I kneel down or squat down and try to shoot in a squatting position, because a lot of where I hunt out west in the desert, there's not a ton of cover, and so there's times I've needed to shoot from my butt, or actually from my knees, and it's just a different process to get the bow drawn back and everything.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, it just changes the whole situation, scenario, whatever you want to call it. And so, yeah,
yeah.
I guess just get comfortable being uncomfortable shooting a bow. Make it a hard shot. Don't, a lot of us think, okay, well, and we do. I mean, when you shoot target archery, you're checking the cant of your bow with your bubble. You're finding that perfect, your perfect. Oh my gosh, what do we call that? I just lost my train of thought. Like the
Anchor
anchor
point.
point. That's what I'm trying
Yeah,
to say. Anchor point.
yeah,
Yeah. Like you get so used to a system of how to do things, and then you go out hunting and it wrecks all of that. So just get used to not having that. Try different things. Try having your bow canted a different way. You want to avoid it at all costs. Even in a hunting situation, you want to be able to have that bubble where it needs to be, have that good anchor spot. But you might be in a position that you're not, so you want to make sure that you're comfortable with that.
yep. And that kind of rolls into the next one I had, which is kind of all one major umbrella, but another one I've begun to practice a lot more is elevation change shots from different levels. Because, and you know this pretty well out here in the West, and it works well for whitetail hunters too, because they're shooting a lot from tree stands, but very rarely is it flat either. Lately I shoot a lot of downhill, a lot of uphill, because most guys know arrows act a lot differently when you're shooting uphill versus flat versus downhill. So
Yeah. Yep. Have a good rangefinder too.
that helps. That does help.
Oh man, if we didn't have rangefinders that look at the true ballistic range, I'd be wasting a lot more arrows. We'll just say that.
Yeah, that's the funny thing with me. I've out of the three or actually the four archery kills I've taken, only one of them was rangefinded.
Really?
Yeah, everything else was just in my head. I'm like, yeah, that's probably this far.
That's pretty good, man. That's savage of you right there.
Yeah, I mean, I will say some of it is practice and repetition and kind of just knowing, okay, from using a rangefinder too helps. You
Yeah.
range, okay, I think it's this far, and then you
Hmm.
range it, actually see how close you are. Um, but maybe it's my hunting style that three of the four times I felt I didn't have time to range him.
But that's a good
So,
point in getting creative with your archery practice is get used to that. Put your target out there and just walk out to a random point and guess how far it is and either shoot it at that and see where you
mhm,
hit or guess how far it is and then range it and see how close you were. Get used to being able to pick those ranges in your head because you're right, Seth. I mean, not every scenario you're going to have the ability to pull up your rangefinder and say, oh, yep, this is 35 yards, this is 55 yards, whatever, and know exactly what it is and be able to dial your slider sight to it. And,
exactly. Yeah, I mean, I guess that's just the way I kind of well, I shouldn't say luckily, but, and you're probably this way. When we first started shooting and growing up, nobody had a rangefinder. We just walked it off and hoped we were right, and we missed a lot of deer. Luckily,
yeah.
I never wounded any, but I missed a lot of deer. Um, but as I got older and started using a rangefinder, I think that early years kind of helped me know a little better how to guess range, um, at least within archery range. It starts to get distance. I have a fairly decent, you know, guess, but that still can get tricky as well. So,
Yeah, it's funny. Like where I'm really good is I'm not good with archery ranges. Honestly, like between 35 and 55, I'm
mhm,
not good there. I'm just going to be completely honest with everybody.
right.
What's funny is where I am good is with a rifle, and I can say,
Hmm.
like, because you don't have to be so precise with a rifle. 250 or 300 yards, there's really not that big of a difference, but I can
Right.
usually pretty close to that 50-yard mark, be able to tell you how far that animal is away up until like
Right.
600, 700 yards. So that's where I excel.
See, and I'm pretty decent at distance like that. If I see a buck, I'm like, okay, he's well within, a certain range. And I'm okay with that, but I will talk a little bit of crap on my buddy Jared. He's not.
Oh, don't do Jared dirty like that.
No, I mean, he is my buddy, but there's been a few times he says, "Oh, it's probably that far," and I'm like, "No," and I range it, and it's much, much further than he thinks it
That's why those rangefinders. Let me send out another plug for Vortex Optics, man. They have that Razor 4000 rangefinder, dude. You can't beat that rangefinder. Have you used one of those?
No, but I'm eyeballing one for the Colorado hunt. So
Uh, well worth the money for anybody that wants one. That is, and I've used a ton of different ones. I won't list all the ones that I've used in the past, but man, that Razor 4000, it is just amazing. Actually, what I really would like to do is get the new binoculars, the AB
Fu-
5000s.
Furies or
Or,
whatever, is that what
the
they're called?
Furies. Yep.
Yeah, yeah.
That would be, because those ones give you everything. They can take into account wind and, oh man, I digress. But pretty cool stuff so that you can know those ranges perfectly and make that perfect shot when you can.
Right,
So.
right.
One other thing that I wanted to talk about, Seth, and something that I've been doing a lot this year is my good buddy John Dudley. He's not my good buddy. I've never met the guy in my life, but I'm just going to say that. He's a pretty good shot with a bow. If you guys have
Yeah.
followed John Dudley and Knock On and all that. But he did this cool series this year, preparing for all the tacks, because he's a big player in the Total Archery challenges, and he made this series called Plan of Attack. A little pun on the tag Total Archery Challenge, and in that series, I think there's eight videos that he addresses different things to help you be creative in your archery practice, and he calls it arc flaws. So ARCFLAWS. So the A is, so I'll just run through it real quickly. I won't go into the details on all of them, but so A is for assess, R for range, C calibrate, F is for footing, which I really like that one. Going back to your point, Seth, about up and down hills and things like that. Your footing's not going to be perfect tack. Your footing's not going to be perfect hunting, and so getting used to not to shooting when your footing isn't perfect. Do your best to get it the best it can, but it may not be perfect. L stands for lean, so that leaning, that cant of your
Right.
bow. And if you're shooting on a mountainside, lean into that mountain, bring that cant back a little bit. A stands for arc, the arc of your bow or your arrow, and so you know if you're not going to hit a limb or whatever. W stands for wind, and then S is for sight setting. If you guys haven't watched those videos, I highly recommend them. I have no relationship with John Dudley or Knock On or anything like that. I just found those very, very useful and things that because he in the videos he's on the mountain, it's snowing in some of them, and he's making all of his shots kind of tailored to those different those letters of the acronyms, and I felt it really, or I found it very helpful to go out and do the same thing myself. Especially like lean into that mountain. So I started shooting some side mountain angle shots and bringing that cant into the mountain a little bit, and man, it made me feel a whole lot better. Or like the wind, he talks about in the wind, canting your bow against the wind. So if you have a left, the wind's coming off your left, cant to the left to lean into that wind a little bit and actually straightens your arrow out, the flight of your arrow out. So um, just trying to be really creative in the way that I have planned my archery training and practice, and that arc flaws that he put together is pretty fantastic. Seth, have you seen that at all?
I have not actually. I'm gonna go watch it when we're done here.
Do it. It's awesome. It was super helpful, and guys, you can find a lot of stuff on YouTube, and hopefully we can start producing some of that kind of stuff for you here pretty soon that helps with this as well, to be that resource. But you can find a lot of stuff to be creative in the way that you practice your archery, and this arc flaws by John Dudley and Knock On. It's fantastic. So yeah, check it out.
Well, that actually brings up a good point. I was actually thinking about doing this more this year, because I've had this happen twice now where I'm actually afraid to take a shot because I'm sure, like in my own mind, that my arrow was going to hit limbs above my or in my shooting lane.
Uh huh.
I really need to set up something uh, with objects in the shooting lane before the target so that I know to a better degree how high my arrows arc at certain distances and know if I can actually make a shot through the window I'm looking through.
Yeah. And it's interesting, something else I played around with when I got my new Matthews bow is, because it shot a lot faster
Oh,
than my previous bow.
we got two Matthews guys on the same podcast.
Heck yeah,
We're gonna get a lot of slander.
dude! If you don't shoot Matthews, I don't even know if I could talk to you. I'm just
Oh
kidding.
no.
No, I'm not a hater. I shot Hoyt forever, but my Hoyt, it was a little bit older, and it shot significantly slower. Interestingly enough, it was the same poundage that I'm shooting with my Matthews, but
Right.
my Matthews, it is a flat shooting sucker. And so, like, going back to the Total Archery Challenge, I was so much more successful than I thought I would have been, or even other people, because they would nail limbs hanging down, and I would
Mm.
shoot right under it, and boom, nail the target right where I wanted to. So I didn't have to worry about it as much. So something to think about as you're preparing your equipment for the hunt, and thinking outside the box, and then be a little bit creative, is make sure your equipment is dialed in to be able to do those things if you can.
Right.
Obviously some people can't shoot a 95-pound bow like me, but
Oh,
you
okay.
know, me and Joe Rogan,
Yeah.
yeah, us
Um,
podcasters, dude, we can pull back a big bow.
yeah, I am a Matthews guy, and I've been for quite a while. But like Taryn said, no hate. I grew up shooting a PSE, and then I transitioned to one that'll get you real excited. I shot a Browning Adrenaline for years and years. It was like Browning's only solo cam for a
Uh huh.
long time.
Uh huh. Yeah.
And it just got to be that it was just old and turned up way too much. It sounded like a gunshot going off when I released the arrow towards the end. So it was time to
Jeez.
upgrade, and then I ended up shooting a bunch of different bows, and I've stuck with the Matthews for a long time. I don't upgrade like a lot of guys. I'm still shooting a little bit older Matthews, but I love it. So
Yeah, I don't upgrade as much as I probably should either. But I don't know that I'll ever go away from Matthews now. You just find something that works for you, and like I said, the Hoyt did work for me.
right.
Um, but it was a game changer when I put this Matthews in my hand. It just felt so much better, and I've shot a whole lot better with it. So I think different strokes for different folks, and that's why there's so many brands out there, and that's why so many brands can be successful. That what works for you and I doesn't work for Curtis. Curtis
Yep.
will hunt with something different. You and I will hunt with something different. I mean, that's the beauty of this game.
Yeah, and that's a big thing that Taryn talked about is get something that feels right because when when I was looking for a new bow years ago when I before I got the Matthews I shot a ton of different bows, and honestly the two that felt the best were the Matthews and the Bear. And you know what I mean, you don't see
Yeah.
many guys shooting bears, but it felt very good. But the Matthews just beat it out just a little bit, so that's what I ended up going with.
Yeah, I did the same thing. Shot every bow on the rack, and I did. So I bought my bow last year. I've got
Mm,
the VXR, or
mm,
no, yeah, that's what mine is. And the RX5 or whatever the Hoyt one was felt pretty good. I did not like the Prime. I did not like the Elite. Some of those other ones I really did not like, but yeah, it's kind of the same story as you, Seth. I mean, the Matthews just beat everything out. Felt so smooth, dead in the hand. I mean, just
yeah,
ah,
that was me with the I actually didn't like the Hoyt at all for some reason, and I didn't like the Bowtech. It was neither one of them felt very good to me. So I
oddly
was
enough, I actually kind of liked the Bowtech. I don't know why,
mm,
but that one felt. Actually, the two that I came down to was the PSE. Uh, what one was it? I apologize, guys. I can't remember. I need Garrett on here to tell me what bow it is. But it was down to the PSC and the Matthews were the two that I came down to. But I just couldn't help myself. The Matthews just felt perfect. So, anyways, this is not a Matthews commercial, by the
no,
way.
sorry.
Matthews, if you're listening, it could be. But hey,
Yeah, call us up. Give give me and Taryn brand new bows, and it can be a Matthews commercial every year. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just
absolutely,
kidding.
absolutely. No, I just
Oh
appreciate
man.
them. They're a good business, good guys. One of the guys that I hunt with is really good with Matt McPherson. They've done a lot of work together, and you know, they make some pretty dang good guitars too that we've kind of played around with. But great guys at that company too. So no, they're cool. But guys, at the end of the day, like kind of what we talked about. I mean, you got to get your reps in for sure. Don't do what I've done in the past. Pick up your bow a week or two before the hunt and think you're good to go. It's just not cool. Find ways to get that bow in your hands. Like I said, sign up for Total Archery Challenges. Sign up for local 3D archery shoots or other kind of tournaments and competitions. Get with some buddies and set up a target system in your local area that you guys can go out on the weekends. Get your family involved. Get your kids out there shooting. Get that bow in your hands as much as you possibly can. And then once that bow's in your hand, kind of what we talked about today is just be creative in it. Don't just shoot rep after rep after rep, standing on your lawn perfectly level, shooting perfectly level to a bulldog target across the grass. I mean, make it interesting. Ruin some arrows if you have to. You've got to have that experience.
Yep, that is for sure.
So cool. Well, guys, that'll pretty much wrap it up. I hope this was very helpful for you guys. I hope that you guys get involved in this, and if you guys have any other things that you feel like you do that's creative in your archery practice, let us know. I'm always happy to add more to my repertoire as far as practice goes. So let us know what you all do to prepare for archery season. And like we said, it's coming up. We're less than a month away in some areas for it starting. So hopefully you guys have your deer located that you want to go after and are prepared for it physically and with your gear and all that. But we look forward to what the archery season and all the seasons have in store for us. And if you guys are successful and harvest some amazing animals, would love to see it. So tag us in your pictures on social media. We'd love to see them. So before we end, Seth, I've got a couple things I wanted to, just some laundry list things, but do you have anything for the folks?
I think we covered it okay. What's up?
I was just gonna let everybody know we are on TikTok now. Seth's got a couple videos up there. I've got a couple that I just need to upload to it. So follow us on TikTok. There's not a lot of hunting content on there, and I'd love to saturate that platform with hunting content. I'd like to saturate everything with it because hunting's amazing, and there's a lot of stupid stuff on there too that we won't go into details. But so we are on TikTok, ehunter_official. Same thing as our Instagram handle. So if you guys are on TikTok, go and follow us. We'll try to be a resource on there for you guys, as well as continue our other platforms. And then got some really cool podcasts coming up here in the near future. A really, really big one, recording it here next couple of days with Wyatt Buback of the Utah DWR. He's the chief warden, and we're gonna get into the weeds of this Utah baiting bill and hear it from the horse's mouth of where this came from, why we're doing this, how it looks, and then what happens if you get caught baiting, and how are they going to catch you. So be on the lookout for that podcast. I think that one's going to be one that a lot of people are going to want to tune in for. So, well, Seth, I hope you get feeling better, man.
Yeah, I'll get there.
Okay. Let me know if you need anything. And guys, appreciate your support of the podcast. Please make sure and share it around. And we'll see you guys on the next episode. Thanks, guys.
See ya.